Now, here we are. We are in the year slot. And so, for those of you that are just joining us, I am Hollie Baker-Boljevac. I run the Wise Women Gathering. I'm here on Warbunja Yuin land with my puppy that's going to screech in the background for a little while. And we've got Yia first off the rank on this symposium interview schedule. Yia, would you introduce yourself? Tell us where you are and who you are in the world?
Yeah, good day, everybody. I'm Yia Alias. I'm a ceremonialist living and working on Darug land. I've done a big spiel earlier. We've done quite a bit of acknowledgement in our part one and really spoken about what it is for us to be present upon the lands of the original people that we live upon. And being part, Colo, where I am, is part of the creek and river systems that form the Hawkesbury area, which are the lands of the first impact of colonisation. And we really strongly feel here the importance of knowing the history of our land and paying our respects and proper acknowledgements, not tokenistic gestures. And with the knowledge that we also are part of the ongoing story of this beautiful land, where we can come together to acknowledge, pay our respects, and walk in integrity together as a common humanity with the knowledge of what has happened in the past. It's what we can do. It's what we can do, is to create respectful connections with our Indigenous community and knowledge holders. And I feel very, very grateful for my Indigenous teachers, one being Minmaya, Wiradjuri senior law woman, and my beautiful ceremony Darug sister friend, Buru spirit medicine woman, that both women have generous, big hearts to share knowledge systems and ceremony with us. I'm very, very humbled and very grateful by that. Thank you. That's my
That's who you are in the world.
Kind of an essence, I suppose. A beginning essence is so much, and I'll let Hollie guide me, because I don't know how to pull things out.
All the threads out. And so we've just,
Yeah.
for those that are just seeing this this space now, we did just have a chat in our opening space around a lot more depth about that, right? About connecting to land and country and bloodline, and sort of ways that we can do that with integrity. And he has been a really great guide for me in that, through, in the support team of Wise Women Gathering, and making sure that we are finding those connections. And you brought Buru into us because of the connections you had with the land, because you live nearby to where we do the conference. It's a great thread that you continue to weave for us through there, and just in the role of eldership and guidance through that. But you've got lots of other roles at the conference too. Yi is always an educator. She does participate in usually the opening ceremonies and the closing ceremonies, and we've sort of, between, I think, yourself, myself, and Buru, we've got this like great little dynamic that happens now for those ceremonies, where we kind of bounce off each other really well. And also you sit on the counselling team at Wise Women Gathering, hold that supportive space, which is very important to me from that trauma-informed perspective. But why do you keep coming back? Yeah, that's so many things to do. Like, you're getting older, you want to retire and stuff, don't you? Why do you keep showing up to Wise Women?
Well, I did throw out the notion to the universe that I was kind of retiring, and then it was like an open invitation for everything to start happening finally. I keep coming back because this particular gathering is very, very close to my heart. And I spoke a little earlier about I felt very activated and inspired that it had its foundational roots in the, firstly, to keep the herbal traditions alive and well in a world where a lot of that is not fully recognized, even though it seems so natural to us. And I feel like that that herbal part really acts as a strong foundation for then the women's mysteries part to come through, which I believe is knowledge systems that are probably the most invaluable knowledge system for women everywhere, is to understand the power of their cyclicity. And it's the ultimate self-development, spiritual growth tool that there is to enable people to learn about oneself and to deepen into oneself, because the great mystery and all the teachings lie deep within us, and the understanding our cyclicity gives us threshold moments and portals to be able to allow that wisdom to come through. And then, over the years have come in the holistic living, as Sam Hawker spoke of earlier. She spoke of it, that being an embodiment of the natural living practices, I would say, and the building of communities, that we can't do this alone. And there is a beautiful community really growing and weaving with the Wise Woman gathering. I've made some amazing long-lasting friendships from the gathering. And for those, and then there's others that I only see once a year at the gathering, and it just feels like old friends coming together. I did have the joy of going through some photos recently of past gatherings, and I was saying to Hollie that it really blew my mind to actually sit and actually look at the brightness in everybody's faces and the joy in everybody's faces. It's that space of coming together. And one thing I particularly like is coming together for the meals. It's like you can go and sit next to your teacher celebrity and just sit at her table and share a meal there. And that experience I've not experienced anywhere. That is it's just wonderful. We all just become women, together in that moment.
Yeah, there's no hierarchy in the cafeteria, right? It's like everyone's the same. We're all eating the same food. We're all having the same conversations. We're all listening to the same rowdy noises and the kids running through. Like, you don't get to be like someone special in that space. Everyone is special and everyone's the same.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so your session this year is the power of ceremony to heal the world, and we've got it on Friday and Saturday, both 2 days. We often, for people listening, we often try to repeat sessions because we do have so many sessions on the program, but people will say, oh, I really want to go to her, but I want to go to her as well. So we try to repeat them in ways that you can kind of get some overlap there, which might seem weird when you first look at the schedule, because you're like, what, that's the same thing both days. But this is why, because we all want to go to all of them. And I actually, when we first put the schedule together, we had the power of ceremony to heal the world as a women's mysteries kind of stream, but I reframed that just recently, the last version of the program I did, as cultivating community, because I think that I think that your presentation is going to cover all the streams in reality. It's going to be holistic living and women's mysteries as well. But, when we're talking about ceremony to heal the world, to me, that seems like that's what we want in the cultivating community more than anything else. Can you speak to that here?
Yeah, absolutely. I see myself very much as a community weaver in my role these days, even more so. And it has been about cultivating, originally cultivating communities of women, because I ran a long-lasting circle for 13 years, weekly actually, and a community built out of that, a community of very strong and deep connections from the sharing experiences. And what would happen in that space, the little children would be there, and then you'd see them grow over the years. They'd come for the annual spiral walk that we held as well. We started the rites of passage for the baby blessings, the menarche ceremonies, the menarche healing ceremonies. I designed a Queen of the Harvest ceremony about 20 years ago, which then became a great part of my work later. with something that I've developed called Bone Woman. But out of that came community. Now, this weekend I'm running not running it, sorry, actually holding space for a baby blessing for one of the girls that are part of the community here, and they're bringing their community down here to celebrate as well. So I'm loving I've always had this idea of Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, where we start with this one fire that we light, that light gets taken to another space and lights that space, and that light continues on and lights these other spaces. So it's that idea of communities sort of seeding and igniting in other spaces. And it doesn't need to look a particular way or a formula. Each woman brings her own essence and her own gifts. But what I'm loving is seeing the respect that us community weavers have for each other and our work. And I think that's a really important part in a culture that's had us so separate in our niche and in our, that patriarchal, I suppose, space that, and now I'm just loving knowing my other sisters who have their communities and being part of supporting what they're giving birth to. Yeah. So I don't know if that's answered that question.
No, I think it speaks really well to it.
Yeah.
This is what we're not necessarily trying to answer questions, we're trying to speak to the questions. And then we get the broad array. Yeah.
And look, within that, our men are involved, so it's not just isolated to the women. Now what's happening, for example, with this baby blessing, the men will be here, and some of the men are preparing the food. Then they're going to go off for a walk to talk with, my partner Nick, who will speak to fatherhood. And so, yeah, it's the men as well, and the boys. We don't only have daughters, we have sons. So having run a community cafe for the Tantric Turtle for over 20 years, I'm really got to experience myself, I suppose, and our family as an intersect point for many, many, many communities, all coming together, I suppose, to come and have a cup of chai and listen to some music, So that stands as a strong foundation, which anchors me into my the hospitality of my ancestors and my upbringing, where hospitality and generosity, which is called philoxenia, translates as friend to stranger, is really important to us, and within that is being with each other's difference, because we're friends to many different clans of people, and just modeling what that looks like. And it's not always perfect. Sometimes it's glitchy, but I've got a very strong vision of not hitting my head against all the difference. My vision is to honor my ancestors because they experienced an enormous trauma of watching their people die 80 years ago, and also 500 years of colonization by another country, that they've kept their spirit really clean and clear. And otherwise, the kindness and beauty and love would be contaminated. And it's almost like, for me, that hospitality, generosity, beauty path is my form of activism. Yeah. And it's tangible.
So tangible. That's so beautifully said. And it answers like 3 of the next questions I was going to ask. This is what I'm finding really fabulous about these interviews. I say finding because I've done some pre-records, obviously. You're the first one today, but I've been speaking to women for the last 2 weeks. And, when we start just opening up about, or just being able to talk about ourselves and where we're coming from and what inspires our work, the passion and the clarity that comes through, like, this is not shit you need to prepare. It's built into you, right? It's in your cells. And that's what this sharing wisdom thing that we keep talking about is about. It's like, you know, as the sound comes through your breath out of your body, it's carrying that wisdom that's in your cells, and that's then like spreading out like, you know, a whole different type of virus out into the world that's changing and loving and beautifying the world in ways that we didn't even know, because you don't know what you don't know, but other people know it. It's in them. Yeah. And that's what you just did here. You just spat that everywhere at us, and it was amazing.
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because as I was setting up this morning, I think, do I need notes? No, actually, I don't need anything. So, oh God, I feel so grateful to have just arrived at that space after many, many years of, you know, beautifully typed up notes, as I do have, and I do present to all of my people in my workshops going, see, I'm professional, I've got notes, but actually the notes are never relevant in this space. So, yeah, so that's quite funny, actually. But I do have something that I have written that I'd like to share with everybody shortly when it's appropriate.
Yeah, this might be the right time for that. Yeah. Do you want to share
Okay.
it with that?
So my journey as a ceremonialist, I think, began when I was 7, when we were going fast for 40 days and go and have Holy Communion, and in the Greek Orthodox Church at Easter. And I was so entranced by the resurrection pathway, you know, and that's when all of that got seeded. Anyway, leap forward 20,000 years and many, many things happened. And I don't want to skim over some important things like Bone Woman, but I do want to say, in my studies and in my searchings to, you know, add to my toolkit as a ceremonialist, and in my training, obviously Starhawk was a very prominent figure and inspiration at that time. And I was really struck by this quote. And it says, we need images that move us beyond language, law, and custom, that hurl us beyond the boundaries of our lives to the space between the worlds where we can see clear. So Starhawk is a ceremonialist and a permaculturalist and an activist, amongst many things. And that informs me as a ceremonialist. And that's why sometimes I need to ditch the script, because what is happening in this present moment may not be what's on the script. There may be something that needs to be spoken to in this particular moment. How do I, and it's a constant process for me, how do I language in a way that is inclusive to people, that is not sort of so fraught in heavy duty ceremonial language that alienates some people who that paradigm might seem really foreign. And I can't say that I'm perfect at it in any way or form, and I'm always in a space of constant adaptation into making it real, making it authentic, but not losing sight of the bigger picture. And it's something that I need to do very often for all guests that come here to Hearthground, is to do the proper acknowledgement of country that we do, and doing my very best to find a way that actually truly engages people at a heart level. And I'm managing to do that through the stories of some of the original friends that have come onto the land and shared some things here, through also my learnings and my teachings, and making it real and not making it foreign and alienating. And then after that, it's such a big relief. So Starhawk's words keep activating in me, you know, what is it that how can I inspire people? What language do I need to drop or add in this moment? Yeah.
And I heard you say that, yeah, like sometimes I don't do it perfectly. Like no one does. We are all learning this as we go. And that's what, you know, that last session we were talking about, that new way, because there's not an answer here. There's no one answer that's going to make everything okay for everyone. We're just like stepping along, we're listening, we're sharing, we're joining, we're coming apart. Like it's an ongoing process, right?
Yeah, it is ongoing. And for me, being static as a triple air sign, I just can't do it. There needs to be that ability to keep moving and keep seeking and keep adding to. Otherwise, I actually feel quite stagnant, in myself.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need
that's
to
how
be
we move
opening
forward.
it.
That's
Yeah.
that's the people who have always been in the world that have moved the village or the tribe or the whatever forward, right? We just, yeah, can't stop. Can't stop. So tell me, what does what do you want people to leave your session with, right? So we've talked about kind of what brings you to the session and what inspires it, but what is it that you feel like would be like, yes, I feel content now because they have left with this.
Yeah, I would like to inspire the women to be able to activate their own ceremonies to help them navigate through transitional pathways through life, and also to activate the consciousness that these ceremonies are a very powerful tool, and it doesn't need to be only limited to what traditionally we see the transitional thresholds through life. That I actually personally see life as one whole ceremony. I do. That's how I see it. And life then has these transitional moments that if we can make proper acknowledgement, that gives us an opportunity to integrate past experiences and allows the new energetic to come in. So I'd like to activate that in the women that will be attending my workshop, for them to understand there's many spaces and many ways that the women can create something for themselves, daily, cyclically, moonly, many pathways, and possibly some that, and I won't tell it all now,
You can't, you got to hold that.
that women probably wouldn't expect,
Yeah, great.
and I think there'll be a few ahas within that. I will be sharing some of my own personal experiences with ceremony, because that's where the great teachings for myself have come through where I've hit the wall, and the what I've learned through hitting a wall, or what I've learned from seeing, wow, that was amazing. I didn't expect that. So out of what I've experienced, I think it'll give women the courage to step more into their ceremonial space, because I believe that we are all ceremonialists as women. We all have that. If you see little girls playing, you'll often see them make beautiful little altars and beautiful little things. So I quite delight in the words altar consciousness. I wrote an article once called that Altar Consciousness, about the power of ceremony and altars to alter your consciousness. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And that's a piece, I mean, that was a piece we didn't even mention. One of your roles at the conference is you help create those beautiful spaces, altered spaces, whether it's on the stage or little pockets, like if you're walking at the conference, you might just be walking past a little nook and there's some beautiful thing there that has probably been Yia or one of her team responsible for that. And those little places of beauty that just like, we feel that on the inside. Yeah. Nourishes those wisdom cells that we were talking about. Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful that Sarah Jane is going to be creating some altars this year.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that Hollie, you're lightening my load in some ways too, and it's really beautiful seeing emerging, creatives rising into that space. And I have my beautiful apprentice Sophie Spears, who, worked on the beautiful video that we saw earlier, and she's a very beautiful altar artist, ceremonial artist as well. So that feels really lovely. Feels really lovely to add value and beauty in that way with others. Yeah.
And it's those little, I mean, that's one of the piece of feedback we always get. Like it's the little touches of beauty that are everywhere. Yeah, that they like.
Aww.
Yeah. And then one of your other roles, often you've been a moderator on some of our panels. And this year you're holding the space for the Women in Activism Creating Change panel. And what I love about when you moderate a panel is if I give you enough time to prepare, you do a lot of research on the women when you come into the spaces, right? So you go and look up their websites and you look at sort of the things that they're interested in. So I'm wondering, like, I know you've already done your research for this panel. What's your thoughts coming into this one? Like, not so much what you're going to ask, but like what's there with you as you move into this panel around the activism and the women that you've kind of been connecting with by researching them?
Yeah, I found it really fascinating, the different ways that one can be an activist. That's been really interesting to me. And just sort of trying to, and relating to myself, that there seems to be a core passion that drives that person beyond anything. And the word persistence is the one that's coming through the most, I think. There's this, each one of these women has persisted till they've come through and create some transformational pathways for others to follow. It's fantastic. And I remember, just even for myself, when I would start my circles, and at first I thought, this is small. Hardly anybody's attending this week. But there's had this little inner voice that said, no, this is every Tuesday at 1. I am not shifting or budging from this. And this is what I am now able to advise with others too. Just persist, Next week there were 15. The next week there were 8. The next week there were 3. And then out of that built over 13 years a community. So that's what I see, is that persistence for change to happen. And I think so often we hit our head against that wall and lose courage, and feel discouraged. And what I'm hoping from this gathering, the ribbons for this year, they're a very beautiful, vibrant sort of golden color. And I've been speaking with Buru about they're now called our ceremony sticks. They had started off originally as our sorry sticks to pay our respects. Then they've moved into the new way walking sticks, which means it's time to make a new story, to walk differently. And this year it's about, and Buru was saying, so you're using solar sacral colors. And I went, yeah, actually, they're the colors we're putting on. And the reason I mention it is because the solar plexus area we think of as the place of courage. And that's what I'm relating that to the panel of women on the activism panel, is it takes courage. And what I'm hoping this year, what we can activate as a group at the gathering, is to encourage each other to have the courage to be our own creatrix, activists, to give birth or to add more to what it is that we already do, because it can be quite scary to set off, and take those first footsteps. If people are taking their first footsteps into that dream of themselves, is just to create that encouragement. Yeah.
Absolutely. We live in a culture where women are actively stopped from doing that in so many ways, right? So that is a piece of radical activism, just to step into who you dream yourself to be. That's super powerful. Yeah. It makes me think about a couple of years ago, in our closing circle, I did that little piece around getting a woman against your back, and sort of really embodying that feeling of having another woman's back, and then going back into our everyday worlds and finding those women that have your back, and that's a piece that we travel through. And so here we are 2 years later, coming into like the next level of that, which is like really having the confidence, with a whole group of women behind you now, not just one woman that's got your back.
Yeah, absolutely. And, teachings like Min Myers, where she says to us, we're perfectly imperfect. And she says, if you fuck up today, lovey, have another go tomorrow. That is, I've said that to some mainstream women at a graphic arts conference, and the sigh of relief in the room was incredible. because they were all suffering from imposter syndrome, you know. Yeah. How can we be this instant perfection, you know? There's no authenticity in it. I think it's important. If I found for myself as a ceremonialist, I have a lot of trauma that I've experienced in early childhood and through the genetic pattern. And for me to stand up and be fully present in the public arena has been, I suppose, a gift, but my greatest fear at the same time, you know.
It's
So
been a journey.
yeah, it's been a big journey, and I have found a woman came up to me. I was doing spiral walk last year, and she said, how do you just do that, Yia? How do you just do that?" And I said to her, "Oh my God, I can't tell you the times of, you know, great self-judgment and self-loathing in my early years. Oh my God, I forgot to say this and I didn't say that and I didn't include." And then I would be flagellating, you know, for a couple of days. And do you know, that was a great gift to her. That was a great gift to her. She went, "Oh my God, thank goodness." And it gave her the encouragement to be the, you know, she's amazing. She's doing incredible stuff in the world now. It's just being real, being honest. So yeah, and sometimes it might take me a few minutes to find my groove, and I'll let people know that. I'll say, you
Mm.
know, it'll take me a few moments, but once I'm in, I'll be in, you know.
But that's
Yeah,
normal. Like we're not supposed to be able to just show up and be on every time we have to be somewhere. So to
yeah,
softly enter that space and warm up to the room and warm up to whoever's there and all those pieces, like that's normal, right? But we haven't been shown
it
that.
is. Yeah.
And so
Yeah, and I
that's
think I'm like human design. I think I'm like a person that responds or something. I don't know. I didn't take it all in because my brain didn't take it all in. But I thought, yes, I respond to things. So sometimes as the initiating space, you know, might glitch a bit, but you know, in response, I love that because something awakens in the interaction of others. You know, the beautiful alchemy of connection and the space between us. You know, that
mm,
we both feed into. I love that so much. Yeah.
mm, yeah. Yeah, that's the nourishment right there. And so it's interesting that you're talking about this because the other panel that you'll be in, so you'll be on a panel this time as well. So you're moderating the activist panel, but you're sitting on the panel about women's leadership. I wondered when I asked you to do that, was that a surprise to be asked to be on that panel? And like, what do you think the essence is that you're walking into that particular panel with?
Yeah, to be honest, it was a little bit whoa, because I realized that I had sort of embodied some overculture style things about leadership. You know, we're in a male dominated world, and the word leadership seems to be very aligned with those values. So I thought, oh, I don't know what is it that I lead with. But yeah, so I'm allowing myself to not run away from that, you know, from probably a false sense of humility or something that's not going to lead me anywhere, and realize that I am actually walking my talk. You know, I am living that life in the best way possible. And if I do glitch and fail along the way, I will stop and make proper reparation and take responsibility for my actions, for anything that hasn't, you know, been in alignment. So yes, living off grid, being here with this, you know, unpredictable internet that seems with a less sun, which is enabling us to have this talk today, thank goodness. Yeah, and leading with, to be honest, the caring for country part is a really big deal here, uh, and I have felt alone at some level with this value system of doing the right thing, the proper acknowledgements, and many things come with acknowledgement. It's got to do with how many people can you bring onto the land, how many cars can come down here, what type of, I tell people we're not an event hire space, you know, all of that stuff. And I felt alone in it, and I felt the burden of it because some people in this general valley are had been behaving not quite in integrity. And but now I'm feeling there's a community of women arising who feel those values too, through all of the time that we've been sharing together. And I just feel like I can let that burden go, that it's something that we all feel is the right thing to do, you know, which is caring for country, yeah, paying proper acknowledgements and caring for each other. So I say that with a little bit of weariness in my heart. You can probably feel that. And
Mm.
it can make me feel a little emotional, because there's a part of me that is a very joyful, delightful spirit that just wants to be with the beautiful magic of the land and being in that delightful presence, which is very important for me to experience. But I felt holding that mantle of responsibility was turning me into everybody's, you know, dark shadow mother.
The granny walking around going, stop it, stop it, stop it.
Yes, stop doing that. So now women come themselves, they come and they put flowers, they know all the things. Yeah, it's activated the right action that it is fundamental to all of us, I believe.
Mm.
And so I feel that, yeah, if that's leadership, well, yeah,
That's leadership.
that's what it is. It's
Definitely. It's a it's
community leader, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah, it's a leadership. You know, no wonder you felt like if your frame of leadership came from a masculine culture, then of course the word leadership seemed, you know, completely unstable. But what you just spoke about is true leadership, and that's what we don't see in our culture right now, right? Or we see very rarely. That's not the type of leadership we are given in this culture, in our politics, in our corporations, but it's the fucking leadership that we want. And that's the purpose of that panel. Yeah. To hear from women that are stepping that true walk, you know, and all the women on it were coming from very different places. I'm also sitting on that panel as, you know, leader of this particular community or whatever that's supposed to be. But
Mm.
yeah, we are doing it differently, and sometimes that's very isolating, and sometimes it's lonely because you think like, how the fuck doesn't the rest of the world just get this and want to, you know, not even don't follow me, just also be a leader, right? That's what we want. So
That's right.
yeah, that's why
That's
that,
right.
you know, maybe we need a new word that isn't leadership. Maybe we need to find our own feminine word that encompasses all these things, or maybe we just
I'm
take
sure
the word leadership and make it a new thing.
I'm sure you will, Holly. You've come up with some great words. I have to say, around all of this, I can't speak in isolation. I have an extraordinary partner who is just such a supportive, good man. And I believe it's the stability of having that, you know, over 30-year relationship and working together for the common values that's really enabled me to hold the space in this way. Yeah, and really walking the path of the teachings that I've learnt about being intimate with the emotions, been journeying on that pathway of Min Myers for 25 years now, and really seeing what that pathway is like. And that's really been that both those things have both been anchors for me to be able to do this work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a village.
Yeah.
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 So in on that, what would you say about this Wise Women Gathering community? Yeah. Like, just what's the first thing that comes into your
Oh,
mind that
I'm
you
in
want
love
to
with it.
share?
What can I say? I'm in love with it. When I'm there and you know me, I float around because I absorb the fabric and the feel of it all. And, you know, if there's like a little something, you know, I'll tend to it, you know, in whatever way it needs tending. Um, it makes my heart sing. It makes my heart sing to see the women sharing their knowledge. And what's beautiful is every year, each woman has deepened into her maturity, into her essence even more. So then you get to experience the next level, you know, of love. What is it? It's actually love in action, isn't it?
Mm.
There's all
Mm.
the education, yes, which is beautiful and a very vital part, but it's the deep connection, the community. I love it so much. I really do. And yeah, just makes my heart sing. What can I say?
Yeah, I love that concept of like, the upgraded version of self is showing up every year. Like, here's
Yeah.
another round of the spiral in, the cycle that continues to deepen in the spiral. And here we are coming back past this point again, and look how different everyone is. And we always say, we start the conference, we look around that circle like, oh, there's some strangers. It feels a bit awkward. We don't really know who we are. And then you get to the end just 3 days later, and it's like you've known these people forever. So that next time when you come, like, it's like I remember being a kid and sort of reconnecting with my cousins that live far away, and that feeling of like, oh yeah, I know you, this is easy, right? And that's what we're getting
Yes.
now as we come back around that spiral. Everyone's like, it's not the same group that left each other last time. It's not the same dynamic. We've all changed, but the change like meets itself because we're all upgrading together. Yeah.
Mm.
Beautiful. So beautiful.
Mm.
Okay. So we're coming to the end of our year session for now. I really appreciate that you gave me 2 hours today. You helped out with that opening space, and then you're here again for your interview and all your wisdom. It's like I'll probably say this 1,000 times over the weekend. The magic of asking women to come and talk about actually just 90 minutes that they're going to be sharing in the world in 2 weeks brings out so many other things that are so valuable for us on so many levels. So I love it. I love this conversation. And the reason that I didn't, I'm doing all 3 days. I'll be the interviewer of 3 days. And I know that is a lot. And I'm sure like some of the support team saw that and went, holy shit, what is she doing at this point in time? Why is she putting herself in this situation? And we could all ask that. But for me to be able to sit with each of you for an hour, like I don't get to do that at the conference. We're all running around doing so many other things. So to be able to have these connections with all these amazing women and know that there's others in the room listening, I can see Deanne and Kerry here, both of our educators, other women who I know are attendees because I recognize the names. Like it's so empowering to be in this space together, leading into the 2 weeks into the conference. And we're definitely going to do more of this through the year. So that's my appreciation to you, Yia, for being here today. We've asked all the educators to leave some sort of gift for everyone, but I don't know if you and I talked about that. Have you got a gift? What are we doing with the gift here?
Well, because I'm in this space of change at the moment, I've been working on the Bone Woman Conscious Eldering, which I would like to be something that that I leave behind. That's my legacy. I will be running a 3-day intensive here, and I'm quite happy to knock $50 off that price. And I can see Kerry Alexander's name down there. Kerry will be popping in once I get a date to support with her wonderful knowledge, nutritional and herbal knowledge systems to support eldering women. And I'm very excited that I've started the first little tiny footsteps of it being an online course. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah, but the other offering, it can be for any workshops that we can pull out of a hat between now and the end of the year. I think I need a secretary. I will be working with Buru and her partner Adam on a Caring for Country and Culture weekend here, because we've launched with a new way walking and the beautiful video that was just shown earlier. Before we start doing a workshop ourselves to do with the ancestors, we feel it's really important that we actually care for the country that we're on first. So that will also be a weekend, and we can knock $50 off that price. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's say I'll put it up on your symposium page a bit later today, but we'll say that basically if people just mention that they watched your symposium video, you'll give them a $50 discount on workshops at Hearthground.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. All right. So tell everyone, I mean, that's the first time probably we've actually said the words Hearthground in this session. So tell everyone where they find you in the world on the online world. Yeah. And you can mention your socials. We're going to have all the links on your symposium page anyway. But just for now, how do people find you in the world, and how do they work with you too, Yia? Because I know that you're, like as you said, there's been a system of change. Is there a way that people can work one-on-one with you? Is it only going to be the retreats? Tell us about all of that.
Yeah, look, I'm in a slight dilemma, but I know I need to make a choice, and to make a choice is like, it's the word sacred. You make something sacred, and I'm not sure how I'm going to travel with it. I will be doing workshops, intensive bone woman and the other workshops. I'm moving out of the one-on-one, and that feels like a little bit of a risk at some level, because I do want to guide the women, but I also know that my physical capacity and my need for the care of Hearthground, it consumes too much of my time. So I'm hoping on the online course, when it comes up, that there'll be enough there to support. People can contact me just very easily on Messenger, on Facebook. Sorry, metaverse stuff. I still haven't navigated quite how to use Instagram. I'm sorry, because I'm too impatient and got other things to do. But I would like to develop that more, because I've got a lot to say about New Way Walking. So I am on New Way Walking on Instagram. And you were speaking about Hearthground. Hearthground is, 60 beautiful acres of land that called us up here to do ceremony. And it first came, the energy traveled up through my body after looking at land for 20 years, came all through me, through my heart, through my eyes. My eyes stung, and then I began to see that I could do the birthing ceremonies here. And I thought, oh my goodness, have I been harboring a dream I didn't even know I had? So I feel that I'm just a conduit, to be honest, for something that's far greater than me. And it's bringing the foundation here is really the birthing ceremony and the rebirthing ceremonies and the letting go ceremonies. So I'm always open to doing those. And the letting go and rebirthing ceremonies act as a really good tool for women that want to navigate through one way of being to step into a new way of being. And I can maybe mention that as well at the actual gathering. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Oh, I'm having thoughts that I won't say during the recording, but I'm just going to write a little note here for myself for later.
People are trying to encourage me to podcast. I haven't done that, because also I don't listen to podcasts, so I don't know what the vibe is on it. But I'm feeling I've got a giant need to communicate. I'm consumed by it,
This would be an amazing podcast.
Yes, I agree, Mon. I totally agree. So I was going to say, yeah, we might have a role there for a Wise Women podcast next after the conference. I keep saying next year, but it's this year. And so maybe that's a space where, I like what Twiggy, who was here with us before with the Elder Tree, they're doing a bit of a podcast situation where there's a few different people that come in and out. So it's not only one person doing all the interviewing. And so I feel like that might be a model we're going to borrow for this. And, working with our 4 streams, there's a way that we can keep these conversations ongoing. We've got a little message here from Kerry saying, it's a blessing to be able to support us today and be here with us. Yeah, it's like there's the weaving that we're doing here with that yarn that we wrapped all around the world at the beginning of our sessions today. That's all there. Yeah, so we can, the podcasts are on the go. Let's just say that it's a thing that is going to happen in one way or another. And of course, always this is a piece that you gave me, Yia. We as leaders in whatever part of the community we're in need to actually call out, not call out as in not the cancel culture call out, but call the words out of the things that we need to come through, that we are trying to drive forward. Yeah, like you said to me, call that apprentice in and she'll come, and she fucking did. Hey, she's right there. She's already joined the team. So let's call out the women that know that podcasting is easy for them and they want to be a part of these kind of projects as we move forward with Wise Women Gathering, because we are a team. Even though there's sort of leaders that you see a lot, there's a lot of support behind that. And we invite anyone who feels like they find a role. And it's similarly over this weekend, as you see sort of, little tweaks that happen, maybe you think oh, that's something I could offer. So don't ever be afraid to email us and say what do you think about this idea? Because you know, you said you're all air. Yeah, I'm all fire, and I got a lot of Sagittarius in there, and I'm looking forward all the time. I'm shooting those arrows pretty far away. So there's always a lot of things on the burners at once. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
So let's just give deep thanks to Yia, and I'm going to turn off the recording, but then I'll be sharing another coupon for everybody. That's really great, Jackie. I could see that you're saying you've got some contacts. So if people can email us at connect@wisegatherings.com, that's going to be the most beautiful way for me to get that information through, because I'm keeping track of a lot of things today. Yeah. So let's give deep thanks to Yia. Everybody, we're going to stop this recording. Mwah.
Thank you.